guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going over part 2 to the very entertaining story I covered earlier. And since I covered it earlier, there's no need to go in any recaps because you all were there and know what happened here in the story. And all I'm going to say is it left off where our guy obviously found out that his wonderful wife was up to no good, and is obviously strong suspicion that his daughter is not his. And so he informed his parents, and they're on the warpath here. They got the private investigator going. He's kind of like Liam Neeson in the Taken movies. And already he secretly got the DNA swab for him and his baby daughter. And we're off on part 2 of this to see how this whole crazy mess turns out with his wonderful wife, Isabella. So it continues. He says here, no words can explain the absolute stress, fear, and the constant state of loss a man goes through while waiting for paternity results. Bro, I'm sorry this happened to you. I really am. And I can't imagine that. But God Almighty, I just don't know what the hell you were thinking marrying this woman. I mean, good Lord. And I know you know now, but all the signs were there. Particularly when you're living with a person that betrayed you. It was like living attached to a bomb. Even though I was terrified of my situation, I had to pretend that everything was perfect. For one wrong move could tip her off, and that bomb would detonate, doing worse damage than Isabel already had. Then there were the small moments of peace when you tried to rationalize what happened, when you felt like you were jumping to conclusions, and this could be a mistake you took out of context. There's no taking things out of context, and if you look at her past behavior and how she's clearly a gold digger using you and doesn't give a shit about you, come on. But let's be honest, guys don't want to admit that, because then they have to admit that they're stupid for falling for the woman. You even have dreams where you get positive results. You have nightmares and negative results, and where a judge slaps you with $1 million child support. Your mind plays with you. Constantly, it was exhausting. So much so that I used everything I could as an excuse to leave the house. I told Isabella the company needed me at the office to check the numbers and risk a possible new investment. I gave family excuses. I'm too tired of excuses, and I also sent her favorite hotel spa just so she could disappear for a day and a half. Well, I'm sure she didn't mind that. Why don't you go on a shopping spree, honey? You deserve that. Okay. Then it finally happened. The PI called me and gave me the news. 0% match. Ouch. On the one hand, horrible, because he thought this child was his child. On the other hand, well, it's not my child. Time to get rid of the bitch. And I mean the mother. I don't feel good admitting this, but the first thing I thought after hearing the results was, thank God. Okay, a couple punk teenagers on the dirt bike zipping by. Thank God. I know it sounds appalling, but the sheer nightmare of having a lifetime link to Isabella monumentally outweighed any desire I had to be Elodie's father. I knew I was going to miss her, and I would always feel her loss, but I also knew that at least I would live in peace. Man, this is when Grandpa needs to stop by with his Biff Tannen cane with the freaking, the fist on the thing and start going, hello, McFly, and banging on your head for, marrying this broad. That afternoon, I texted Isabella and told her I was sorry but needed to travel to meet with one of the leading executives I was working with and would be out for a few days. She wasn't happy with that and told me that I'd been incredibly neglectful the last couple of days, and if it didn't stop that I would have to think of ways of making it up to her or else. Guys, women don't talk to guys like that unless they have no respect for them. They don't talk to guys like that unless, in their mind, this guy isn't going anywhere. I got him wrapped around my little slutty finger here. That's why they talk to guys like that. Guys they see as having no backbone, pee-whipped, and frankly, given this guy's behavior, it's warranted here. However, when a guy's pushed too far, she then sent me a picture of a Cartier watch with a kiss wink emoji. Yeah, she's with you because she loves you, dude. Fucking gold digger. Disgusted by her now obvious blood-sucking text, I shut off my phone and drove to my parents' house. Once there, my mom called my brother and 2 sisters for family emergency, and I explained everything that had happened. My brother was worried Veronica would call Isabel to warn her, but I knew for a fact that Isabella had blocked her from every social media site, possibly to prevent her from seeing Elodie and outing her to the world. After everything was said and done, my family had distinct ideas on how to handle it. I'm surprised your family doesn't hire how Liam Neeson type to make Isabella disappear in the middle of the night. My older sister wanted me to go nuclear. She mentioned Facebook, Instagram, emails, fire, and the pits of hell. But that was too time consuming and theatrical for me. My brother thought Isabella and I should talk things through. Smack! Oh, what's with the dudes in this family here? He said we should meet at a public place and talk. Once I answered all her questions and she answered mine, I should politely inform her we would no longer be married and give her the prenup with the infidelity clause underlined. A printed document explaining the money and the property she gave up by default, the amount of alimony she would receive, the lack of child support due to the removal of my name from the birth certificate, and an eviction notice. Okay, I thought your brother was saying something else. I liked that option, but seeing her face and hearing her lies and excuses was too much for me, so I went with my little sister's idea. I ghosted her. Okay, well that's more fun. That's funnier. I stayed a couple days living with my parents while Isabella thought I was on a business trip. Once everything was in order to file for divorce, and I had the papers with me, I texted Isabella that I was returning the next day. I told her she should go have a massage, get a pretty dress, and have a nice lunch so that later that day I could share how sorry I was for not being there. She happily agreed, and my older sister joined the plan to ensure that Isabella wouldn't return home until we were done. Following the plan, my mom invited Isabella's mom to her house and asked her to bring a Lodi. Remember, Isabella's mom, who in the beginning said that she's been married twice, divorced twice, probably on another guy, living off alimony. The whole family's a mess. Gee, red flags here. How your family went along with this, I'll never know. Mom told her it would be good for Isabella to take a small break and do something she loves while the grandmas have family time with the baby. In reality, we wanted to ensure Isabella realized she's been ghosted without putting the kid in a dangerous or uncomfortable situation. She wasn't blood, but we still loved her. The next day, I drove to my house and waited a few houses down until I saw Isabella leave with Elodie and her mom. I texted my family, and half an hour later, my younger sister arrived with her best friend Lulu, my brother, and 2 trucks from my moving company. With their help, we took every expensive thing I owned or that my family had gifted me. We left hers. We took all my clothes, shoes, papers, the entire office, half our bedroom, the entire TV room, part of the bar and the kitchen, and all the jewelry I owned, including any family heirlooms she kept there. Once the movers finished loading all the furniture into the truck, I placed the divorce papers on the counter and thought that was it. Naturally, my sister had other plans. Lulu has a small yet very successful tablescape company, and my younger sister and Lulu thought decorating a goodbye table for my wife would be highly amusing and entrepreneurial. It was. While the rest of us packed and loaded the last boxes into the truck, Lulu placed the round dining table we had out on the porch, right in front of the entrance hallway, so anybody who walked into the house would have a perfect view of her entire creation. And what a creation it was! Lulu added different levels with marble blocks, then covered them with stems of full dark grapes that fell elegantly next to a bunch of grapefruits, and other fruits cut in half. Then she surrounded them with a mix of flowers and candles. Anyone who saw this would assume it was a huge romantic gesture or that it was announcing something big. I suppose I was, since right in the middle of the masterpiece, Lulu arranged a 12-inch dark wooden easel stand on top of the crown of flowers and placed a pedestal pink envelope with thick golden cursive letters that read, "For my love." Man, your sister's something. Inside that envelope was the prenup with the infidelity clause highlighted in pink, followed by the negative DNA test and a printed picture of Elodie next to a picture of Mike. Remember, Mike is Veronica's husband. Veronica's her former friend. Both of their moles circled in a thick red marker. At the bottom were the divorce papers I placed on the counter, a sheet my brother had printed specifying the following steps we'll go through and our lawyer's information. I know it was sadistic to admit this, but the thought of my family getting all those papers and envelopes ready made me glad. I truly love my family. Well, that's awesome, but I wish your family would have been more involved and knocking some common sense into you about her. You can't tell me they couldn't see through her. The whole conversation with Isabella, you and Grandpa, in the middle of the other story, should have shed light on the whole thing. Again, Grandpa should be knocking you in the head with the Biff Tannen cane. My sister, brother, and I stood there watching. Lula finished her masterpiece, and I laughed for the first time since I found out what happened. Lula even left a mini marble stand with her company logo and snapped a few pictures after checking it was okay with it. Very entrepreneurial. The only thing missing here is, a recording device to get this all on camera. Because shit, I'd love to have that. After she finished the table and the movers were done, the house was so empty it echoed. It was bizarre to see the place I loved the most empty now, and almost nothing left. However, I did leave the security system. My brother recommended I leave the cameras in case she damaged the property, while my younger sister suggested I leave them so we could see her meltdown. We closed the door and texted Mom and our older sister that we were done and coming home. Man, your sister. She says, no, let's leave the security. I want to see her have a meltdown. Around 2 hours later, Isabel arrived at our house. I was at my parents' kitchen when my sister screamed for us to go to the TV room. My peculiar, sadistic family had connected my computer to the TV and was now broadcasting a video of Isabel parking her car at the entrance. Everyone except my mom, since she took Elodie and my mother-in-law out for ice cream, found a place to sit and watch what was happening. Isabel arrived with shopping bags, slammed the car door, and walked to the front door. When she saw the table full of flowers and decorations, she dropped the bags and clapped with excitement. She screamed my name and asked me to please come out, but soon realized that she was alone. Then she did the strangest thing. She picked up the shopping bags, left the house, got into her car, put it in reverse, and drove away. Everyone was left confused. Then she drove to the entrance again. Only now she was on a video call. She parked, left the car, and walked into the house screaming the fakest, "Oh my God, what is this?" She started jumping and squealing at her friend on the video call about how surprised she was, and she had no idea. In other words, she wants to have this all recorded because she's an attention whore, But now it's going to be on the video call live, and she wants to show her friend and show off. Oh, look at the lifestyle I have. She's about to get a real treat. Publicly. Isabella said I was amazing how lucky she was to have a man who treated her like she deserves. Oh, she has no idea. She was wearing an earplug, so to this day I have no idea what the friend said. Isabel began to pose in front of the table. She took a few selfies, looking surprised, looking happy, posing seductively with a flower against her lips, and sending kisses. What a fucking tool. I will never get these social media attention whores. I will never get it. But you know what, guys? Do you know what's worse than a woman who's a social media attention whore? A guy who's a social media attention whore. And for any of you smart asses say, SSM, you do 4 videos a day, you're an attention whore. This is business. I don't have a personal account of Facebook and Instagram having me taking pictures in front of my house or car or whatever. Yeah, the only thing worse is a male attention whore. And I'm sure many of you guys know some. All that photo shoot absurdity that some women love doing. She was on the video call when she saw the envelope and started to shake it in front of the phone's camera. She says, "Do you think it's another vacation?" she asked. "I don't know. He's never prepared a surprise this big for me. Maybe we're moving to a bigger place." She giggled, and then she said, "He better." Isabel placed the camera on top of the table and did an embarrassing dance as she slowly opened the envelope, and her friend cheered. My sister burst out laughing. She said it was like watching a 90s thriller where the stripper is happily running around not knowing the killer is about to stab her. She was right. Isabel's meltdown was beyond expectations. Similar to watching the video of a mental patient going through an episode. I would detail everything she did, but that would take an entire new video. Dude, who you're talking to here? I would do a whole video based on the description of her meltdown here. This would just be a 3-part series instead of a 2-part series. I'm sure every guy here would love great details of her meltdown here. However, if you're interested in the details, I can't send the video for legal reasons, but I can transcribe it, what she said and what happened. Send it to me. Send me, guys. If you want it transcribed, how the fuck you supposed to say it, tell him in the comment section so I can do a whole video based on her meltdown. And bro, you can send me the video. I wouldn't tell anybody. After hours of meltdowns, multiple phone calls, and texts to everyone in the family, Isabella drove to my parents' house. She tried to climb the fence. Really? Kicked the gate, bawled, and was escorted by the police after she hit the security guard with a rock when she was asked to leave. At the time, she kept screaming, "Don't you know who I am? You're so fired." And my favorite one, "My husband will sue you all." Who do you think was behind all this shit? Do you know who I am? You're just some dumb bitch that get married into a wealthy family, and they're kicking you out. That weekend, my mother-in-law came to my parents' house to talk. I let her in, and we sat in the dining room next to my older sister and brother, who let her know our meeting was being recorded. Good. She tried to convince us that she wasn't there to fight and that there was no need to record. Bullshit. But my brother explained that either we record it or she leaves. She accepted the terms. She has no choice but to accept your terms. I began telling her that my family wouldn't finance or help Isabella get out of the assault charges. That was on her dime. Then I asked her to tell Isabella to stop trying to look for me. Any contact from now on should be made through our lawyers. My mother-in-law cried. Bag Handbook, Chapter 2. You know, the daughter here is a chip off the old block here. She gets it from her mother. She said Isabella was, wait for it guys, so sorry. She wanted me to come back home so we could talk alone since many people were trying to separate us. She said I'm not answering her calls and feels I've abandoned her and our baby. Our baby? No, that's you and whatever his name is, baby. Her baby, I corrected my mother-in-law. No, she is your baby, she said. A father is not the person who gives her life, but the man who steps up and stays and helps raise her. And I know you're man enough to be her father. Oh my God. See, mother-in-law has the same perception of this guy as the daughter. That he's a simp, he's a white knight, he's a pushover, and frankly, his actions up until this point would have good reason. That's why she's talking to him this way. I told her I knew I was man enough to stay. I just don't want to. I had a good married life with Isabella, but it was based on a lie. And no matter how beautiful that lie felt, I refused to stay in a marriage with a cheater. Good for you, bro. She then had the nerve to say Isabella was not a cheater, that she swore she only cheated once and regretted the second it happened. That's still fucking cheating, bitch. Isabella wanted to tell me that exact moment, but it was my mother-in-law's idea to stay quiet. I laughed at the ridiculousness and told her she could believe her daughter all she wanted, but I wasn't going to. She told me she had a text conversation to prove it and showed me her phone. And there it was, the dumbest conversation I've ever seen. It literally said, and he transcribes this, Isabella says, "Mom, I have a confession to make and I don't know what to do because I'm so scared." Mother-in-law says, "What happened? You are scaring me." Isabella says, "I can't even say it. I'm so scared to lose my husband. I love him. He's the best man I could have ever wished for, my soulmate." Mother-in-law says, "It's okay, baby. Whatever you did, he will understand. He's a good, forgiving man who loves you too much." Translation, he's a fucking simp, pushover, kiss-ass, nice guy, white knight that you can do anything to and won't go away. That's mother-in-law's perception of this guy. Isabella, I cheated, but I super promise it was just one time. Super promise? I puked the moment it finished. It was just horrible. I'm so horrible, I don't deserve to be loved. Man, these two need to get their own reality show. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Dumb and Dumber, the female version. I have the screenshots of their conversation, but her ranting was endless. Then mother-in-law answered in shock. Isabella told her that the right thing to do was to own up to her own one true mistake, and let me know what she did. But my mother-in-law begged her not to do it since it was just one time and she shouldn't destroy her family for something like that. So mother-in-law is going to take the blame, saying it was my fault that I told my daughter to not tell you and all that. So don't blame her, blame me. No, I'll blame you all. You're all a bunch of assholes. Then they both agree to keep it a secret and make it up to me by being the perfect wife. Yeah, she's been so perfect. After I finished reading that absurdity, I asked my mother-in-law the date when they exchanged those texts. The same day she cheated, she said. Isabella immediately confessed to me, and she wanted to tell you. I regret telling her not to. It's all my fault. So, she still cheated. she still willingly cheated, and I'm pretty darn sure it was more than one time. I asked if she was sure those texts were from years ago. She promised they were. She saved them just so she could keep reminding Isabel about the promise she made to herself that day. I took out my phone, opened the WhatsApp chat I had with my little sister, and scrolled up a few times until I reached a conversation from a random day. I showed the phone to my mother-in-law and pointed at the small tab that appeared when scrolling up, where it showed the month, date, and year. If those texts are from years ago, why does it say yesterday in the tab? The face my mother-in-law made was priceless. She took her phone back and mumbled nonsense while pressing a couple of things on the chat, as if that would fix the date or help her come up with an explanation. In other words, they made up this bullshit story. They did this whole text exchange, and she was claiming it was in the past when it happened just yesterday. This is the damage control. Except mother-in-law doesn't understand technology and time dates. My sister burst out laughing, and at that point, so did I. I told my mother-in-law that it didn't matter anymore, that she didn't have to prove it was only once or not because our PI had gathered all the info we needed to proceed with the divorce. To this, my mother-in-law freaked out. She begged me to fire the PI. She said it was controlling, a mistake on my part, and that stalking your wife was illegal. I was waiting for that. She's saying this to a whole family of lawyers, really? She was sure Isabel would forgive me for breaking her trust and wouldn't call the cops if I stopped and returned home. But she couldn't promise no repercussions if we kept invading Isabel's privacy. My brother got tired of her ranting and asked her to stop. He told her the divorce was happening. The sooner she and her daughter accepted it, the easier it would be for them. We didn't need excuses, lies, or reasons. We just needed her to listen. Yeah, good luck getting her to shut the fuck up for 10 seconds to listen to anything. My brother opened a folder and took out a list. He told her that the list had already been given to her daughter, but due to her mental state, he thought it'd be better if we explained this to her. He took a pen out, flipped the paper, and began to explain her point after point. My brother explained that we needed Isabel to contact her lawyer. After our talk, every communication between our family and hers would be through our lawyers. Without a lawyer, there would be no communication. Next, my brother said while he took out an eviction notice, Isabel needs to leave my brother's property within 30 days. My mother-in-law began to speak, but my brother cut her off. Don't care, he said, 30 days. She'll be considered trespassing any day after that, and we will call the police. Does this bitch not understand that, by the way, when you're dealing with people with shitloads of money, they have the resources to make your life a living hell. They have the resources to buy influence. Not just legal influence, and I might add they're all lawyers, but also they probably know everybody. They probably know local politicians. They probably know law enforcement. They know politicians that could call someone to make things happen. You get the point. This bitch can't win. My mother-in-law glared at me with disgust and asked if that's how a man treats his wife and mother his child. It's not my child. And she ain't my wife anymore. She never was. On that note, my brother said he took out the DNA test and an official request to modify parentage. Due to the negative results of the paternity test, we will need to set a court date to remove my name from the birth certificate. She just took the request and stared at it in disbelief. Then my brother took out the prenup and a yellow highlighter. He highlighted the infidelity clause and gave it to her. While my mother-in-law read through the prenup, my brother explained that those papers were copies, so nothing happens if they are lost or burned. Isabella had her official prenup, and our lawyer has ours. He told her Isabella would receive X amount of alimony and nothing else. Truthfully, she shouldn't receive anything, but it is what it is. That's why my mother-in-law slammed the prenup against the table. She smiled victoriously and told us we were wrong. That it clearly states that Isabella was getting XXXXX amount of alimony, our home, plus XXX amount of child support. To that, I responded that yes, that would have been the case if her daughter hadn't cheated. But since she did, I tapped with my finger on the part where it talked about the infidelity clause. It stated that Isabella lost any privileges and will only receive the minimum alimony without our property. And since I was being removed from the birth certificate, the child support was 100% annulled. Lawyered. You all recall when they were reading that whole thing to her, they made it clear, but that went in one ear out the other. Because Isabella thought that her guy would never, I believe it was there that my mother-in-law understood the severity of the consequences of her daughter's actions. She, wait for it guys, started to cry and begged us to change our minds. She told me Isabel loved me and we could make this work. Yeah. What happened to the hard ass that she was seconds ago? We could do couples counseling and I could monitor Isabel's chats and whereabouts. No thanks. That she can promise me her daughter will never make another mistake like the one she did. Uh-huh. I just said no, I'm not interested. She then told me that Isabella was having a hard time and all this information would crush her. Lady, how is it not clear that I don't give a flying fuck? That she was scared out of what Isabel might do to herself, and if I ever loved her, I should step up and save her from harm. I don't love her. There is no love in her. I love who I thought she was, even though, well, anybody else with a brain and a pair of eyeballs could see who she was. But we'll come back to that later. But before I could react, my older sister pushed all the paperwork to my mother-in-law and said, "It is not my brother's job to protect his ex from harm. It's on you to protect your child. I hope you do a better job from now on." My mother-in-law sobbed and my sister asked her to leave. And that was the beginning of my freedom and the worst time of my life. The divorce, everything Isabel tried to pull, the insane way she reacted after months of being ghosted, how I lost half my world and how I bounced back, but I guess that's another entire 2-video long story. Oh, you better send it. From this mess, I would ask people to learn from my pain. Young men, don't make the same mistakes I made. Don't turn a woman into your whole world. Always question everything and never stay in a place that makes you feel half empty just because it's making you feel half full. Thank you for your time. Holy crap, bro. That was one hell of a story. Man, oh man, so many lessons here. And I don't need to go through all the lessons. At this point, the lessons are pretty self-evident here, gentlemen. But anyhow, yes, please, amigo, let us know how you're doing. Because this video is going to do well. And I guarantee all the guys are going to want to hear the aftermath of after the mother-in-law got her bitch ass out of your mansion and told your now ex-wife the reality. I want to hear about everything. The steps you took to move on, the whole divorce process. You can't tell me that Isabel didn't try any Hail Marys to try to get your attention and get you to forgive her. There had to have been that, her climbing the freaking gate and the walls and all that. I mean, there has to be more. So I want to hear it. And guys, if you want to hear more about his updates and all that, let this guy know in the comment section. And I ain't going to forget this shit. You mentioned that you could have made a whole video on her meltdown that you got on video there. And you have it transcribed. Send it here. I want to be a special edition of this video of her meltdown. The meltdown part. Whatever I want to fucking call it. And so guys, you want to hear the meltdown part, let this guy know. So bro, you made a lot of mistakes. Holy fucking shit. But you know what? You're young. You're in your early 30s at this point, I'm guessing. I guess. Maybe you told me your age. I can't remember because it's a long-ass story. But the point is, you got your whole life ahead of you. You got a great career, something you're passionate about, you're good at. You're fucking loaded. You get any chick you want. But you have to be very careful. And I'd recommend in the future, any future romantic relationship you have, don't let that girl know anything about your family money at all. You can't trust anybody. Okay? You might as well make her think for a while that pretty much you're just living comfortably. That's about it. And be extremely careful from now on. And you never make your girl your whole world. That's insanity. That's instantly, amongst many other things. And buying a girl's affection never is going to go anywhere good. And you were given signs to her that, oh, I got this guy. And rushing into the relationship and moving with her in 4 months. And proposing after 1 year. Honest to God. But I have to say this because you know how us guys are. You have to smack some sense into us, verbally or physically, for us boneheaded guys who think we know everything to get the point. So, bro, I'm sorry you went through that. I really am. But you know what? As you're aware, you can heal. And I'm glad you have your family behind you. And I still want to know what Grandpa thinks about this whole thing. And if he hasn't gotten that cane with the Biff Tannen fist on it to knock you in the head, he should have one. So you're rich, get a custom-made one like the Back to the Future cane and send it to Grandpa. And that way then in the future, you get with another girl and you're being a dumbass, he can start clocking you in the head like he did with Marty McFly in Back to the Future too. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.